Well, thank you for joining me today. This is the Social Work Student's Voice. It could be a podcast or it could be a video interview. So we'll see what happens. But joining me today is Professor Marleny Bonnycastle. She is the associate professor at the University of Manitoba, and I'm just so ecstatic to have her on for our very first get to know your professor interviews. Thank you so much for joining me, Marleny.
Oh, thank Still, I am questioning why can invite me, but I am very happy to meeting you and also being able to have this conversation today. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you and the association, and I think it's a students association. I think initiative. I think it's great. You sent me the example of the first magazine, or what you call magazine?
E-magazine.
E-magazine, and I really enjoy reading that and knowing students, because I think it's in both way, knowing students from another side. It's also good. Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got students will be they'll be able to forward things that they like, and they'll get put into the magazine. So maybe I could start off by asking you, how did you come about choosing the profession or field that you're in?
Before I go to answer the question, I like also to say that I am a Colombian person. I am a mom. I have two sons, and now I am a grandmother. I have two grandchildren, and a boy and a girl, and one is coming. So awesome. It's just interesting. And I am a member of a big family. My family, we were 10 siblings, and a big family still is, because a lot of cousins, aunts, and uncles. So to address the question, I was thinking about on that, how I choose to in this field. And honestly, I didn't choose.
Oh.
It was not something that I choose. I don't have a concrete response for that, but I think it was naturally for me. My mom used to tell me about the story that I have my school with my youngest siblings. I have two youngest siblings, and I know. Then when I was reflecting today about that I taught my sister and brother to read, to write, the math, some basic math, and then when I have my children, I also taught them a lot in the way, like using any opportunity to learn, to teach, to do something else. So I think this is like natural. It's just become like that. And then when I went to the high school, it was, I took education for become a teacher. So the high school was focused, in Colombia, it was called Normales. That was the name of the school. That was high school focused on teaching. And I remember the joyful, the happiness, the exciting, the excitement that I had when I had to do practice. And I remember about going to, because you have to practice a lot, and always I enjoy a lot. So I think it's become like that. But then interesting is I was reflecting that even though I took that training, I didn't apply to be a teacher. Oh. Because I want to pursue continue my education. And I continue going to the uh, to the university and going and keep going. And I had, I don't know how many more degrees. And, but also, as you know, you know me, that I use a lot of these stories to teach and to talk and to connect. And my stories is like connection between, I have only one life. It's hard for me to separate, this is professional and this is family and this is other things. So I think I am holistic and I use stories. So another story that I wasn't remember today is that in my family, people used to say that I am always at the school. And I connect with friends that I never have seen forever, and I reconnect now, and they say, "Are you still at the school?" I say, "Yeah, why not?" Yes. So then I was thinking that in real, my profession even is, if I say now, why is that I like to teach? I think there is no other kind of profession better than teaching to learn. And I realized that I am a learner forever. And what I enjoy is learning. And because I teach, when I teach, I am using all my stories, I'm using my experiences, I am using my readings. I have a lot of books and a lot of things that I know where is something that I want to teach, and I go to my book. So to me, it's to answer the question is just, this is teaching is a great way to learn. And what I love a lot is to learn. And I think it's learning by being in relationships. And learning, teaching allow me to keep young, because when I become updated by my students.
Oh, sure.
Students making me to learn more about what is happening, listen about some music that I never have learned about that. So students gave me a lot of opportunities. Students gave me, my college or students or this environment of teaching allowed me to be in relationships, to be in relationship with environments, in relationship with people, in relationship with the history, in relationship with the professional fields. And I think it's keep me my intellectual part alive, and keep active. I'm sorry, but my answer was too long.
No, that's fine. No, that's perfectly fine. So basically by teaching, you keep yourself informed about everything that's going on, and at the same time you can inform other people, and with your students, you can learn other things because of the age gap. So you're kind of
the intergenerational, the intercultural, the international, the local, everything, because students bring a lot to the classroom.
Oh, for sure.
And so to me, my approach of teaching is beyond banking information. I like students to books and the readings, and all of these are important for you to be informed. But the way that I want is to teach is that engage students in talking, in building relationships, in connecting real life with the theoretical things, with the conceptual. So it's, I think it's amazing. I really love the profession. Yeah, I really love to be a teacher, but also I think under this concept that is beyond to be a professional field or a way of making income. Yes, that is the way that generate income, but to me, it's a way of living.
It goes beyond that. It encompasses so many other things.
Yeah.
as opposed to just being an occupation or a profession.
Mhm, mhm,
So I see
mhm.
that you have a lot of different research areas, and I also read that you've done a lot of international research and perhaps speaking in different places around the world. Are there any places that you might be able to share that you really enjoyed working at, or places that really grabbed you and thought, oh, I like to be here. This is great.
Mhm. Yeah, research is another area that I found is a way of learning too. Because research to me is more than this sophistication of teaching. To me, or doing research, to me, research has to be relational, that connect, that allow me to connect with the participants, connect with the context, connect with the environment, connect with the issues, understanding different perspectives, understanding different things. So to me, in my own perspective about one of the foundations of my area of research is community engagement, community mobilizing community, being and community in a big sense of the terms, not only community as a geographical place. It could be community of practice, it could be community of learners, it could be community of people who do some specific work. So I could say that the area that I embrace more is about social justice and anti-oppression, working on those areas. So in that way, my work in participatory action research and relational research that I have worked internationally in different countries and also here in Canada allow me to understand problems from different perspectives with different lenses and different contexts and different situations. So the same problem can be seen in one way by the government, but in other way by lived experience, in other way by academics, and in other way by society at large. For example, at this time, I'm working with one of the current project I'm working now is with the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD, and this project is a big project funded by Church, and I am one of the co-researchers of this project. And my area, the specific sub-project that I am working is on mobilizing community to reduce stigma and promote dignity of individuals, families, and communities affected by FASD. Other colleagues are working on families or working with the society, but my area that I'm working is mobilizing community. So at this time, what I'm doing is promoting a lot of areas, very simple kind of research, like photo boys or community cafes, public cafes. And initially, I started working with people who work in that area. And at this time, we are inviting people. So FASD is related with housing or homelessness. So we did a public cafe on housing security. And we invite people from different areas to come to talk about that. And also that yesterday or the other day we did about what was the topic? Employment. And we also had another one with criminal justice and mobilizing people to think about outside the box. So it happened that it is open. And in that conversation, some people come from the government and have different perspective, or come from a community or different things. So about that, but so it is connected also with area that I've been working, like homelessness, or working with disability, or working with northern communities or rural communities, or people who had been stigmatized in different ways. So that's that. And also I have done a lot of work internationally, but the last that I can comment at this time, maybe it's not necessarily research, but it's a very interesting area that I've been involved with Colombia. And is Colombia has the longest armed conflict in the world.
Wow.
It lasts, it says, since the 1940s start. And so anyway, so there is an interesting process of truth and reconciliation process. And I was chosen to become involved in the process of truth and reconciliation. And it is interesting. And I was involved because they are putting up Caparo, which is more pedagogical and teaching new generations about the peace and conflict and the armed conflict. And they have collect different kind of truths from different areas in Colombia, different kind of groups, populations. So I am very excited meeting with the Colombian of being of this at this group. I've been about a year. It reconnect me with my own culture, with my own people, and also with the same issues that I experienced when I was living in Colombia, and reason for that made me to live, but also issues that I knew when I was there and populations that I was working with. So even though it's not a formal research, it's an area of practicing my reconnection and the relationship with my own.
Yeah. So that might not be what you're most passionate about, but it's a way to reconnect with your origin, with your history, with the that's the country that you were born in. I'm gonna guess Colombia. So it's awful nice to be able to do something good, back home. So these are all tough questions, I guess, but do you have something that you're most proud of in your professional accomplishments?
This is
yeah, I know it's a hard question.
Interesting question.
Yeah,
it is. But I honestly, I am proud of many things. About one of the things that I have learned, and I learned very early on when I came from Colombia about 30 years ago. I was a very successful professional working in a Colombian university and working in research and community development. And I was very, very successful in different ways, financially, socially, professionally. And I came to Canada just part of the pressures in Colombia. One of the first things that I had to learn was to be humble. So I learned that humility was necessarily because I couldn't keep being like the person I was before I came here. When I came to Canada, I was nobody. Right. I had to learn even the language. At that time, my English was very limited. Still, I keep learning the language, but it's have a lot of the struggles. And I came like as a single mother because my husband at that time didn't want to come. So I came with my two sons, and it was in my place here in Canada, continuing my dream which in many ways was doing my PhD, further my education, and open my space. And so for me, is I feel very proud of because I was able to do that. But I think it's also feeling proud because I grew up very poor.
Exactly.
And yeah,
It's
go
a
ahead.
it's a huge
Yeah.
it's a huge accomplishment. Just everything you've done, everything.
Yeah.
Just take everything together. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
Being very poor, growing, but again, maybe that is the reason if I make a psychoanalysis about my passion for learning,
well, I'm sure.
is maybe because education was the way that I was able to move further.
Yes, I think
And
that's
here
what
I
it is.
am.
Yes, it's just, if you look at your past, it's just incredible where you come from, and not just coming from a country where you were so successful, but then coming here, like you say, and when you come here, you're kind of knocked down, just like to an average person, and you come without your husband, just with your sons, and you have to relearn a new language. That's just an immense amount to deal with and overcome, and you've been fantastic about everything. So uh, I have to commend you on where you are today. It just
Thank you.
it's fantastic.
Mhm.
Um, so something a little more fun. Maybe something for the students. Maybe there's something that they might be surprised to find out about you that they might not know. Is there any little
Yeah.
tidbit or something that you could tell us about?
Um, One of the things that I was thinking about, what can I make the surprise a student is that I am a slow learner.
You.
And I am, and but I love being slow. And I value and I appreciate and I embrace being slow. And I think it's when the students um, came, for example, when I received those letters of disabilities, the students' accessibility services that I have to provide support to the students. Honestly, I wish to have more conversation with the students and say, hey, I am a slow learner.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to talk and sharing about the experiences and tell me more about what works for you. Tell me how we can work together about that. And I'm very happy to work more on that, more than trying to follow up a letter that someone else say students accommodation, and I have to imagine about what is the accommodation means. And I because I am in this approach of relational learner, I want students to contact me. And me as my former student, that I really feel that I am a person who trying to find the accommodation for students in different situations and times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we are in this society that is putting about high appreciation of competition and high appreciation of higher speed and be efficient. And I think to me, I honestly, I love, I have been reading a lot about the slow movement and slow food and how we need to become slow to move more our ideas, to being able to learn. And I think this is very interesting about thinking about that learning and teaching must be a slow process, more than this kind of rush to taking a course and getting the grades and getting the degree, and then what?
Exactly.
So I want to surprise my student. I want to say, hey, come to talk with me about slow learners. Yeah, because I am, and I love that.
That's awesome. I'm sure people will be.
You know, I have a story. I was I was an international consultant at some time when I still was in Latin America. I was a consultant for the healthcare ministry in Ecuador. Anyway, I've been working in international consultants work and like that. And I was working with a group in La Paz, Bolivia. And it was a group of professionals, health professionals training in primary health care. And I say something else, and I throw a question, and nobody respond. And I start like anxious because they understood whatever I said or asked. And then sometimes someone else respond. And I start at that time getting more sense of a slow learning or a small response, a slow response. And I start saying, and also how speed is like something is cultural. That not everyone immediately respond and react or react. There are cultural differences on how people process the information and provide the response. So I remember it was many years ago, and since that experience, I start thinking about, is the speed something that I have to reconsider in my regular life? And that's it. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome. I'm probably a slow learner too. Probably because of my age. I'm not as, I don't know how to say, but most students are a lot younger, so I just feel like
But you know, this is an interesting concept about that, because I went to my PhD also being very mature, and I enjoy a lot.
Yeah,
being about that. And I think it's something that society has put in some kind of standards that doesn't work for everyone.
No. It's you gotta find what suits you. So what else can we ask you here? How about I don't know. I mean, if you had to do something else, is there something else you would do, or would it probably still involve teaching and learning somehow?
I could say that in Spanish there is a word, is maestro, which is the translation of teacher.
Okay.
And maestro is a very powerful term, and now I am more involved with the Colombian people again, and sometimes they call me maestra. And I say maestra is the female in teacher, and I say, oh, and that means a lot, because it could be parents, it could be any member in the community. But I think if I have another profession in my life, I could continue being maestra. And philosopher. I think I like to be philosopher because I like to conceptualize. I don't like to do action without conceptualization. And I think it's that when the philosophy comes to me, like for example, now with the COVID, when we start with the COVID, that we had to move everything to be remotely, I start saying, I'm not going to just put in the computer the same PowerPoints that I use in the face-to-face class. in the classroom. So I started learning a lot about what that means teaching online. And I realized about there is a lot of pedagogical approaches that must be different than in the face-to-face in the classroom when you have more resources. But online learning has other kind of resources. So I start learning more about that and how to engage students in classroom during the meetings and about that. So I think pedagogy is one of the areas that I think is very necessarily to work more, and I like to learn more about that.
That's great. That's great. So you're doing the right thing. I can kind of relate because I take all my courses online, and for me, what I enjoy is when you have the breakout sessions and you actually get to be in a little group with people, and I just love how wonderful that is to actually sit and talk to people instead of just being in the big room with everybody watching the presentation. And I can only just imagine how nice it would be to actually be on campus in a classroom, and having that face-to-face association would be just awesome. So I think the what you're talking about as far as distant or remote learning now because of the pandemic and stuff is, I totally understand what you're getting at.
You know, I have learned a lot, and I have a lot of appreciation for the online learning. And I think there are different pedagogical approaches to work on. And I am doing that, for example, promoting more social presence, as you mentioned about the working with the students. Other like in courses that I'm teaching now, I or start since the pandemic is creating more a kind of approach for the combination of social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence that work on that. And I have given high percentage of the discussion boards. And the discussion board had more elements now than in my own classes. And I have innovate ways of interact. I know it's bigger than before, but I have given high percentage of the evaluation, of the grade about that you feel stimulate, and you don't need to summarize what you read, but you need to tell me that you understood.
Exactly.
That you can apply that knowledge in any situation, in any practice, anything else, you know?
Yeah, that's the whole point of it, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to another one. Does Marleny have any hobbies that she likes to do?
If I have time.
Well, that's what I was actually going to say. I don't know how much spare time you have, but is there anything that you like to do? As far as
I love to travel.
Yeah.
I love to travel. Unfortunately, these 2 years have been very limited and frustrate me in some way because it's very limited. Even at the time the COVID started and the whole restrictions, my husband and I had a conference in Italy, and the International Conference of Social Work Association, Association of the School of Social Work, and we were going to Italy. We already have flights, we have hotels, registration, everything, and then Italy started with the COVID, and we were crossing our fingers, blah, blah. And then restriction, and then the conferences start being postponed, canceled, blah, blah, blah. So that was very shock, and other conferences about that. But I really enjoy traveling. It's one of my hobbies that I invest money, because I found in the traveling is very comprehensive, or has a lot of things that you know more people, you understand more their cultures, you learn about yourself, about when you feel uncomfortable in other place because it's different than you, and you can see areas, but you enjoy the culture, enjoy the food, enjoy other ways of living. So I like that. Beside that, I like to buy books too.
Yeah.
I like to buy books, even though I don't read all of them, but I like to have my books. Yeah.
Would that be books to learn, or books to read for pleasure? Like
To learn.
Just for living, yeah.
Yeah, I even fiction, but I like fiction that is more have some kind of realism, like in this genre of autoethnographies, that people create a kind of a story, but it's based on the real story, and help me to learn about the those kind of things of life. I really like human beings. I could say that human beings is, for me, is my passion. See how people behave in different areas, and yeah.
Well, I think traveling around the world, just being immersed in different cultures is so much more gratifying than reading something in a book or watching a video. It really gives you a real viewpoint of what's going on somewhere, even if it's not travel for vacation, but if you're going somewhere to do research, it's just a lot more genuine, it's just more genuine, and you can just pick up things so much better when you're actually there, and especially
that's a good word.
And especially if you're doing participatory research as well. So that's not something that you could do if you weren't actually, at that geographic location. So I think it just makes it that much more better. That's so all the hard work that you put in, that's given you the opportunity to do traveling. So it's all worked out really, really nicely for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could end it off with a last question about if you could pass on some wisdom to your students, what would you share with them?
Keep being very authentic, being a student, enjoying learning. I could say that I highly encourage students to become more learners than having too much rush to getting a degree. I understand that getting a degree is kind of a tool to start living and having income and making the life. And is in the way that society has been built. But I think is enjoy as much the learning. And I think is, to me, it will be something is about cultivate, appreciate, and exercise critical reflection practice. I think is a critical reflection practice is the connection between what I am doing and being seen, listening, learning, knowing, and putting more in practice. And to me, is this being curious, not necessarily waiting until if that is in the outline or no. That is part of that I bought for this course. No, I just been curious about what is that I can be critically about that, and how it is connected with my practice, with my life, with my way of living, my way of seeing things. So to me, this is maybe part of the that I highly encourage students is just enjoy learning for beyond the degrees. It's beyond this managerial approach of putting things on courses or university curriculums or like that. It's just being, being and doing. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to take it, instead of just looking at it as another stage in your life, take it as a part of your life, and really get involved with it throughout the whole journey, instead of just looking at it as something that, I have to get a degree and then I'm going to go work. Like, I think it's important not to just brush school off like that. So, I mean, I think I actually started taking courses in 2014. So it's been about 6 years for me to get through, the majority of the social work thing. And I think I enjoy it more because I'm not as pressed. I mean, there's always some things that come up in life that make it difficult at times, but for the most part, I think I enjoy taking one or two classes at a time, and it really allows you to, there's so much reading involved and so much literature. And I think when you're not taking on a big workload, it just helps you get that much more immersed in the material, when you have the time, and then you can appreciate it more, and you learn slower, or at least I do, as you do. And I think it just has a better impact on you, for picking up the material and the information, and like you say, not just knowing a little bit about it, but actually how to put the tools to work that you're learning in different situations. So
yeah, enjoying the exposure to other kind of knowledge and other perspectives, and even the being sports exposure to that, but also see yourself, reflect on yourself. It's just many, there are too much information at this time. And at some time, we need to define, is this something else that I want to invest my time? Or is just something else that I need to keep? It's good to know that exists. If at some time I need that, I will go back. But trying to identify, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And trying to focus on areas that continue that kind of critical thinking, learning, and practicing curiosity, and be happy and joyful.
No, that's it. That's the goal. That's the goal, is to be happy, and to try and help other people be happy, and get their lives in order as best we can. Well, I think we've come to the end. It's been a great time to speak with you. It's been probably a year or more since I was in one of your classes, and I did pick you because I love your accent. That's plain and simple. I just love your accent, and I thought, I don't know how long you've been in Canada, but your accent certainly hasn't gone away.
Oh, me?
It's I just love the accent. No, and you have a great personality, and you're always smiling, you're always happy, and you're just been a wonderful person to have on this first episode of Get to Know Your Instructor Better.